Support for the show comes from Capital.com. Capital.com is an award-winning investment platform that aims to accelerate financial inclusion worldwide. For seasoned traders, Capital.com offers competitive pricing, 24-hour support in over 10 languages, as well as news, analysis, and insights into market behavior to help you make informed decisions. If you've never traded before, Capital.com's education hub includes in-depth courses to help you get started. For more information, check out Capital, that's Capital.com.
In business, I think is the only place where it's much better to be a gazelle than a lion, because the gazelle is the one company that sets the path, right? And the lions are the followers, right? When is the moment where the gazelle get caught by the lion?
When the gazelle is looking back.
Exactly.
Yes.
So when the gazelle looks at the road in front, is run faster than the lion. But if the gazelle starts looking back where the lion is, right, it will get caught. So it's important to focus on the road. It's important to focus on the customers and on what we want to build, and not what the lion is doing.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Loulou. My guest is Tomaso Rodriguez, the CEO of Talabat, the online food ordering and delivery platform operating in 8 MENA markets and partnering with 70,000 restaurants. Talabat was founded in Kuwait in 2004 and was later acquired by Delivery Hero in 2015 for $170 million. Delivery Hero is currently listed on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange and has a market cap of $8 billion. We're going to be talking about the MENA market opportunity in food delivery, as well as the inner workings of Talabat. So welcome to the show.
Thank you, Loulou. I'm excited to be here.
Me too. I'm very excited that you're here. So I was looking at your LinkedIn. I saw that at the beginning of the summer, you went around on a bike for a couple of days. And you delivered food and groceries to customers.
Yes.
Very impressive.
Very fun.
How was the experience like in all? I mean, I saw the write-up you did on LinkedIn, but in all honesty, how was it?
So I'm doing it every quarter now because I got so excited by doing it last summer that I want to do it every quarter. I think it's, well, first thing, like, it's hot. I mean, that we don't have to when was it? In May or June? It was. I did it once in May, and then I did once in early September. Right? No, June. Maybe you're right. But I think when you're going with the bike, it's fine. Like, you have the wind coming, and okay. The thing is that when you stop, right? When you stop, or when you're waiting for the food at a restaurant or the customer, etc. And there were some. I think a lot really of learnings on that trip, on these journeys. One was that I went, with my phone. I have an iPhone, and I put it on the bike, like, to see where to go and whatever. Like, time, like 5 seconds, it just died, right? For the heat. Like, it was too hot, the phone died. And so that's where we discovered, okay, we need to do something about it, because if a rider, keeps the phone in the pocket and checks the road and whatever, it's very unsafe, right? Yeah. So we, for example, out of that, we installed these windshields on the bikes, right, that protect from the heat. And actually, my last ride, when we did the last one, I tested these windshields and they worked very well. Now the phone was not dying anymore, right? So I think there are a lot of little things you learn by doing this that you will never learn if you sit behind the desk, right? Another big one, I think, was the buildings. It's very hard to know where to go when you arrive in a building and you have to deliver the food. Some buildings want you to go in the basement. Some others want you to go from the main entrance and whatever. And there's this all, unwritten knowledge that the riders have about every single building of the city, right? But the thing is that you see many other riders on the road and they want to help you, and so if they see you're lost, like, they will tell you just go there or park there, or
even if they're not Talabat riders.
Even if they're not Talabat riders, okay. There's this big group of riders that help each other. And then we have, so for the summer, we always have these, buses with air conditioning where, riders can take a rest, etc. All riders, not just Talabat, any brand can go. And there is, they talk about, how the shift is going. First thing they asked me when I arrived is that how many deliveries did you do in 1 hour, right? So I did I think one per hour or something like that. I can do 1.5. I can do so it was like a bit of that competition. But riders are super friendly, super helpful, and they help each other. It's a kind of a big community somehow.
Interesting. And how do you? So are these riders employees of talabat, or are they subcontracted normally, or you have a mix? How does it work?
So it's there's this called third-party logistics companies, right? That employ the riders and provide all the benefits, including insurance and flight tickets, accommodation, etc. And talabat works with these third-party logistics companies.
Okay, so how can you? I mean, these are like the frontliners, right? So these are representing your company, your brand. How do you build loyalty, let's say, with with them, for example, because they're, if they're not employed directly by talabat, is that a challenge for you?
Look, I think when we think about our company and our culture, I tend to say that we have a very strong culture in the company, and we believe that if you don't come to work and you're not happy to come to work every day, it's not worth being in this company, right?
Okay, so what made you decide to do that in the first place? Like to go out and go on the bike and go deliver?
Look, it was really because I wanna know, exactly how things work. And, we have a rider app, so I wanted to make sure, I know, what are the challenges that, for example, one thing we discovered on the rider app is that riders will see the tips after they deliver the food, right? Instead, as a customer, I wanna make sure that the rider received the tip that I put on the app, right? So now we move that flow, and we show the tip to the rider before they deliver, right? So I think it's really to learn about the experience, the operations, how does it work, and how to make it better.
Okay. But that's a brave decision. I don't think a lot of CEOs do that. You see it sometimes now on airlines, for example. You have the CEO of the airline serving customers. So I think it's a great humbling experience, right?
Yeah, but our riders do it every day, right?
Yeah.
So it's I think it's something you should do, right? And then, as I told you, I want to do it every quarter. I also do picking from time to time in grocery stores, right, to see how is the picking experience. If you want to come with me next time, if you have a motorbike license.
I don't. I don't. But sounds. I honestly, I would be a little bit afraid on the roads. I think Dubai is, driving around in the UAE in general is quite scary sometimes.
Look, we have. I think it's not as much as you think. Probably we have a lot of things for the rider safety. For example, we have this telematics system that checks on speed, that checks on if you brake or accelerate too fast and all this kind of stuff. If you bend too much with the bike, etc.
Okay.
So I think this system to keep the rider safe. For the new riders, they get dispatched on a small area, so they don't have to take highways and things like that. So until they get to a number of trips, they cannot get dispatched to kind of a faraway order. So there are a lot of like systems and tools that we put in place to increase the safety of the riders. There's all sorts of protective gears that you wear when you're on a bike. So I think safety is one of the most important things for us.
So you give riders the feedback basically that you're driving too fast or you're not driving safely. So there's that kind of feedback loop.
At the end of every shift, they get a score of how safe they were driving, right? Based on all these parameters that are collecting through the telematic system, and the score ultimately impacts their ultimately their pay and their performance and whatever. So it's very important that they get a good score on the safety standpoint. Yeah.
So it's not only the speed.
It's not only the speed. It's a lot of parameters. It's a lot of parameters that define how good of a rider you've been on the road, how safe of a rider you've been on the road.
Because there was an interesting debate on speed a few months ago as well.
Which one?
There was an interesting debate on speed. I was saying a few months ago as well.
I'm not going to get again into that. Nice try.
Yeah. No, I think safety is very important. I'm going to ask you one more question on the riders. I was listening to a podcast a while back, actually, and they were talking about Amazon, how they create like on-ramps, basically for people who are, in the warehouse and so on, to kind of move up within the company.
Yeah.
But I guess, I mean, they're not your employees, so
we have something similar.
Okay.
So we have this role called talabat patroller. So basically, there are these riders that have been on the job. They did a very fantastic job, etc. They can get promoted to this role of patrollers, and these are riders that basically help other riders on the road.
Okay.
So sometimes you see around they have a bit of this chopper motorbike and a talabat patroller kind of uniform. They help on, they check that they're wearing the right gears. If they have problems with the app, with the payments or whatever, they will help them. So they're really, kind of resources on the ground to help the other riders.
Okay. What is the size of talabat today? Can you give our audience like an idea of how big you are? I know you operate in 8 markets.
Yeah, we operate in 8 markets. We were born in 2004, so it's quite an old company for tech standards, let's say. Today we have around 5,000 employees, say office employees. We provide opportunities for around 100,000 riders across the region. We do well above 1 million orders a day in terms of the number of deliveries. Yeah.
Okay. And what is the biggest sort of critique, let's say, that you get from customers or from your restaurant partners?
So every time I meet a new person and they ask me, what do you do? And the first thing would be, oh, I had a problem with No, the funniest was the first time I arrived in UAE that I was trying to open my bank account. I will not tell which bank, but I was so frustrated because it was taking like forever to open this bank account.
This is a personal bank account.
Personal bank account for a person, right? And after a few weeks of waiting, I go into the office of this bank. And I'm like super angry, like what's taking so long? Because a lot of calls and whatever. And employee starts checking and then looks at the computer. It's like, oh, I see you're the CEO of talabat. Yeah. I'm like, yes. Oh, let me tell you, I had a problem with the order from this brand. So I walked in as an angry customer, and I went back with a complaint. Most of the times is, I think, late deliveries, which I think our operations, I don't want to flex, but I think we're the absolute best in terms of operations and speed and not much speed, but, accuracy, right? When we tell you it's like 30 minutes, it's 30 minutes. When we tell you 34, it's 34, right? But of course, from time to time, there are, some orders that are a bit late. There are a lot of orders that
you have 1 million orders.
Exactly.
Across a day.
But the thing is that when you're hungry and your food is late, you get very upset about that.
It's called hangry.
Exactly, it's called hangry, right? And I found myself in that situation from time to time, and you really get mad because you want your food. You want your food now. So kind of emotions get amplified in those situations.
Okay. So you had people shouting at riders and...
No. Never gets to that. Never gets to that. But, it's just, when I meet someone, that would be if they had a late order, that would be the first thing they tell me. And they always say, look, I love talabat. I order so much on talabat, but let me tell you about this one time.
Okay.
Like that, yes.
Yeah. And what about restaurants? I'll give you an example. So a friend of mine, for example, she's a small, she has a food concept. She's an up-and-coming F&B person.
Amazing.
And she launched this pretty cool brand. And as an individual, it's very difficult to run a business, right? I mean, she's going through a massive learning curve. How to basically look after her P&L and her sales and everything. So the aggregators, right, the food delivery platforms are a big part of the entire process, right? Especially for growth and sales, etc. But they also eat up a sizable chunk of their revenues. So I heard that sometimes even up to like 35%.
No, but okay.
Okay. So what is your pitch? Like, how does talabat help the small sort of business owner? Because you work with everybody,
Yeah.
right? You work from like the big guys with multiple chains and also these like individuals.
Look, I'll tell you, I think from the restaurant and from the from talabat perspective, right? So I think our business works on very high volumes and very thin margins, right? So if you run a food delivery business, an aggregator, like they call us, like you're never going to make money unless you reach a crazy big scale, right? And the reason being that if we take a commission that actually is more around 20%, like the average today, with that we have to pay the riders. After we pay the riders, like a super small, because like a lot of people think that the delivery fee would, be enough to pay for the riders, but it's not. Right, It doesn't even pay cost.
What is it usually? 7-8 dirhams, for example, in the UAE.
Yeah, it's more about 6 and something the average, right? That doesn't even pay half of what it goes to the rider, right? So I think after you pay the rider, you're left with a very thin margin, and then with that you have to pay all your overheads. You have to pay all the marketing. Like the biggest chunk of money goes also to marketing that we spend to acquire customers, then go and order from the restaurants, right? So it's marketing money that we invest, but also all the restaurants benefit from it, right? Then we have to pay for the overheads, like all the people that sit in the office, et cetera, et cetera. And then we are left with a super, super, super tiny slice of, what was there. And of course, you make money only if you do big volumes, right? From a restaurant perspective, if you think about you build a restaurant, right, and you have your dining customers, right? You have your dining area, your kitchen, your staff, and you have all these overheads, right? What is really the cost of an incremental order when you deliver it, right? So once you say you're just doing dine-in today, right? You're not doing delivery, and tomorrow you decide, okay, I start doing delivery, right? The incremental cost of that order is basically just your food cost, because all your overheads are paid for, whether you do delivery or not. You pay the same, right? So I think you should think about what's the marginal cost. The marginal incremental cost is your cost of food that roughly is 30 to 35% of the price of the food. This means that the margin on a delivery order is more around 70%. So in that context, I think that the 20% is not, it's actually quite a good deal, right? What will be the alternative? If I create my own delivery channel, right, I have to acquire customers, I have to create an app, I have to do all of that, which restaurants, I think they realize that it's much more costly, much more expensive, and really impossible to crack it, especially if you're a small restaurant. Lastly, I think for a friend like yours, we have a lot of advertising products that you could potentially buy on talabat if you want to grow your business on talabat. The great thing about our advertising product is that we look at an ROI for the restaurant that is immediate. So if you
this is me as a restaurant buying a banner, exactly. For example, this is what you mean?
A banner or we have cost per kind of this
or like
per click products like Google has, right? When you search and you get the results, the first ones are usually sponsor paid, right?
Yes.
So those products we price them in a way that you make your money back immediately. Right, okay. And 2 or 3 times the money you make. So that's the target we have. And for me, I mean, as a vendor, if I had a restaurant with something that gives me back 2 or 3 times the money that I spend today, the same month, for me is a no-brainer. Because the alternative of spending that money on Instagram, right, and to acquire customer, maybe I acquire a customer that will come to me and I will get the money back in 1 year or 2 years. Like, better than me how, marketplaces work. Like you spend money, you acquire customers, and then over time, over 1 year or 2 years, you make that money back, right?
Yeah.
Our advertising product on talabat, you make it immediately the same month,
because
2 or 3 times.
You're paying per click?
You pay per click, and, cost of a click versus order that you get from the customer is very low, right? So I would argue that, doing advertising on talabat or on, in general, aggregator platforms is the absolute most efficient marketing spend that, a vendor, a restaurant, a grocery store, or whatever could have. Yeah.
And does it work similar to Google search? Does the cost per click go up, for example, if there's more demand on a specific area? Or
no, not today. Today I would say because we're just getting started. Probably our tech is also not so evolved.
Okay, so it's a fixed fee.
Exactly. So more or less fixed. Depends. I think the time of the day, maybe whatever, but. At the end of the day, like it's also when Google was started, when Facebook was started, like the first ones that started doing advertising built huge businesses out of it because, algorithms were not so sophisticated and whatever. So I think when it comes to food delivery, we're a bit at that stage. So it's a great time for a vendor to invest in advertising right now. Yeah.
Okay. But there are some people looking at different business models. So people that are trying to, for example, there are platforms that enable you as a restaurant to create your own channel. Like chat food, for example, and there is also like an emergence of a new no commission or very low commission platforms. There's Kari, there's Noon, there's Kareem, there's obviously several at the moment. So do you see like a shift in the business model? I mean, how do you see it from talabat's standpoint?
Yeah. So I think chat food, for models like chat food, where they give you your
own ordering.
Your own app, basically white labeled, and you have to market it yourself. I would say that works if you have a brand that has big recognition, if you want to, and you have your customers that will come to you, etc. But again, going back to my previous point, if you need to do marketing to acquire customers, you need, and you, even if you have the app is tech. Like, building tech is kind of almost commoditized today, right? The hard part is getting the customers, right? And investing your marketing in an efficient way. And chat food doesn't solve for that, right? So I think that's the challenge. The most restaurants that would work with solutions like that would face. Like they will need to be very, very good at marketing and performance marketing in general. The other business models that you're mentioning,
like a subscription based, basically no commission or low commission.
Look, I do believe that incentives have to be aligned, right? If there's a fixed cost instead of like a variable cost as a commission, it means that there's going to be a threshold number of orders above which the platform will not make money, right? And below which the platform will monetize too much some vendors. So if you pay a fixed fee, I would say that would the advantage will be all on the big guys, and all the small guys will pay more than what they should be paying, right? Probably. But I know there are some models where they say, okay, you don't pay commission, but you pay for every new customer that we send you, right? So you pay, $10 for each new customer. If the customer places a new order, you pay. If the customer already placed an order new, you don't pay. I think that's a great model for the platform, not for the restaurants, because once the restaurant joins the platform, he has to pay a lot of upfront costs for every new customer.
Yes.
So it will be extremely costly for the restaurant. For the platform, it's great because they get all the marketing money that they need to acquire customers upfront, right? And so I think it doesn't work for the restaurant, that model. I think incentives have to be aligned at the end of the day, and we need both. The vendors and the platform need to push for the same direction, which is growth for both, right? And the commission model, like we have it today, is a model that caters for that.
And it works.
Yeah, I think so far it works.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, how these businesses evolve. And because you said for it to work, it needs to be at a very big scale. So it'll be interesting to see with these kind of non-commission business models how the economics would work.
At some point, yes. Let's see. But I mean, I would say they say non-commission, but actually a commission is there. It's hidden, right? It's hidden in some other form of of a payment that you need to make to the platform, right?
I mean, they need to make money somehow. So
exactly.
Okay. And the delivery fees usually, I mean, I think it makes sense maybe in markets like UAE, Saudi, where the spend is high and customers have the ability to, to pay these. Does that change for you in different markets? I know, for example, you operate in Egypt, in Iraq, and such markets. Do you have to compromise on that, or that's usually the same?
No, look, each market has their own unit economics, right? At the end of the day, it boils down to that. And it's quite, I mean, I would say it's not that different. Usually when we look at delivery fees, we don't think much about the absolute value, but the percentage as size of the basket, right? As the average order. And that pretty much is the same across the markets. But of course, different markets have different dynamics.
Okay. So you spoke a little bit about the revenues. I mean, so you have the commission, you have the delivery fees, you have advertising now that you're working on, which could become a sizable business on its own.
Early stages, but yeah, potentially yes.
Yeah. So what other revenues like do you have as a platform? Are these like the three main ones, or do you experiment with other things as well?
In terms of revenues, I mean that's it. But we always try to launch new business models that may not be completely related to food delivery.
Okay.
But at some point we discovered that we had 10 startups running inside talabat at the same time, and we created this new program that we call T-Labs, which is basically incubator of startups.
But what do you mean running within talabat, as in incubated by talabat?
Yeah, incubated by talabat. So to give you an idea, we have dine-in ordering, right? So that's a complete separate team that works on that specific problem. We have a coffee brand called Everyday Coffee, right? We have cloud kitchens, right? We have white label products on groceries, right? So I think all these kind of businesses run a completely separate P&L, completely separate team, and they are they have less resources than the rest, and for that they get less attention from the whole company, so it makes sense to carve them out. And we created this venture builder that we call T-Labs.
Oh, nice. So is that part of, I mean, how do they come about? Is it an employee initiative, or is this like a kind of top-down, you need to work on new products type thing, or how does it work?
Both ways. Sometimes is more kind of top-down, sometimes is employee-driven.
Okay.
One that is employee-driven is, for example, this subscription to get deals at the dine-in restaurants and things like that. So that there was an employee that built a hack around that, and overnight, literally in 1 week, the MVP was ready.
These are engineers. Okay.
As engineers, we had a hackathon where someone built literally in 2 days assistant for your groceries. ChatGPT based assistant where you say, okay, I want to cook, pizza, right? And tell you, this is the recipe to cook a pizza. You need to get the flour, the yeast and whatever, blah, blah. And then it gives you the ingredients. You can buy them on Talabat Mart, and you press a button and they all get added to your cart, right? So that was a quick. Quite cool assistant that he built. So I think these things keep happening. Then we experiment, we try, it works. If it works, then we decide, okay, now it's time to get into major league, prepare a budget, let's prepare a 5-year plan. And then if it passes that stage, it goes into Talabat Lab. Yeah.
That's so cool for employees, I would imagine, to have the opportunity to build on top of your platform.
Yeah.
And be entrepreneurs.
I also do a monthly lunch with employees that so we have six employees at a time can book lunch with me if they want to pitch an idea, right?
Okay.
And they need to come, so 6 of them, and during the lunch, each of them has like 10-15 minutes to pitch. and if there's something cool,
the six together, they will sit with you.
Yeah,
okay.
six together. We have lunch together, and then they pitch their idea, and we see if we want to move forward. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting.
That's very cool to me as well. I get a lot of things I would not think about because I mean the people that are day to day running the business, most of the times they know, they see many more ways to improve things that you see, right?
I was going to ask you about that because you must. I mean, you just said over 1 million transactions a day, so that's a lot of data on everybody. Actually, the customer, the restaurant, the transaction size. So what is that data telling you? I mean, it must be a great if you know how to harness it properly. Great way to.
That's a great point. Right?
Yeah, that's the caveat.
I think today we always say, okay, companies have a lot of data. Yes, everybody has a lot of data, but what is the value of that? I think today is still uncertain, right? Yeah. At the end of the day, our mission is to make convenience better for everyone. And the most important thing for me is like to know what you want to eat next, right? And to make sure I know what you want to eat next, right? So, and using data for kind of these purposes to make your life easier. No one likes to scroll Netflix for 1 hour to choose a movie. That should be the same when you order food on talabat, because we have that. I also do that. Sometimes you start scrolling, there's nothing you like, then should I get sushi? Should I get pizza? And all this kind of stuff. And at some point you get frustrated. You're like, okay, I just eat whatever I have at home, right? It happens. I don't know if it happens to you.
No, I'm the other way around. Okay. So for me, I end up going to the same restaurants because I mean. I rarely, I think, use it for discovery. Yeah. I typically, I mean, I've tried a couple of restaurants. I like them, so I just stick to those. But I would still order the food on the food aggregators. Yeah. Like I wouldn't go direct to the restaurant, even though they try very hard. Like you get with the order a flyer and like a coupon.
Yes, yes.
But I mean, I don't know. It's just so for me. It's just so. It's easy, yeah.
Actually, because of this data point that a lot of people reorder the same things, we created this reorder carousel, right, where you see your past orders, and that is one of the parts of the app that has the highest conversion, right? Because you see the restaurant you like and you order again. But then, of course, we use data for a lot of things to improve the efficiency of the fleet on the ground. For example, like knowing your peak times, you're predicting your orders distribution curve. Like for example, in Jordan, our peak time is 2 p.m. In Egypt, our peak time is 10 p.m. Right?
Oh wow!
So it's
in Saudi, it's probably midnight.
Probably.
Unbelievable.
Probably.
Yeah.
In Kuwait, probably there are 4 eating times, right? But it's Kuwaiti love their food.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think So or knowing what are the most ordered things, right? Like what do you think is the most ordered thing on talabat?
Food? Yeah. Okay. Give me a hint. What cuisine?
Well, I would say is from the area. Yeah.
Oh, a mandi?
No.
From the area, like see?
Yes, like it's something you eat with your hands.
Oh, burger?
It's a shawarma.
Shawarma,
right?
okay.
Shawarma will be the most.
Shawarma is the most
most order food or on groceries is water. Water in UAE alone last year we delivered 600,000 bottles of water.
Wow. Because they're heavy to carry, they're annoying.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think these things are important. Like they're fun facts, but at the end of the day, we want to know what are the trends, how to make things better, and whatever.
We were talking before we started rolling about, I had an idea of creating a toilet paper company. Yes. And one of the reasons was because they're usually so big when you go to the supermarket to carry it, right?
Yes.
It takes a lot of space. So if it's delivered directly to you, it's like the water bottles. They're very heavy.
Can we say
what else?
Can we say tagline?
The tagline, yes.
No, your tagline.
We're kind to your bum.
Can I say this?
We're kind to your bum. It's on record now. What?
Can we say? No.
What?
The tagline, yes.
Yeah.
Loulou has a wall here
Oh, yeah.
with her plan to dominate the world.
Yes.
And at the center of this, she wrote toilet paper. So I just wanted to know why was that?
Yeah, that's how I'm gonna make my billions. Clearly, I stick to the podcast. That's a better avenue for
You
me.
never know. You never know.
What else? What else does the data tell you? I like that. Shawarma,
Who's the
water.
The person that ordered the most last year? How many orders do you think one person placed in 1 year?
400.
652.
Wow, twice a day.
There's like twice a day.
Wow. Okay.
I think it's a mix of groceries and food, of course, but it's.
What do you do for these customers? Do you go personally and like thank them?
So we do actually a dinner every year where we invite the top customers, and also dinner we do with influencers and things like that. It's usually a fun event, and I also met most of these customers, and it's always fun to
what
understand.
Nationality is that customer? Curious.
No, this one I didn't meet yet because it was last, so we didn't do the dinner yet. But we have from all over the region and the world. Most of these customers are ladies, I would say.
Okay.
The biggest or the people that order the most are ladies. I don't know why
Wow.
it is that, but it's a trend we see.
Well, maybe because I don't know. Maybe because they have to feed everybody, so to just order something, put it in a nice dish, and
and
serve it.
But actually, most are young. Like most of these high order customers are young people.
Young ladies.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Like in their 20s.
Interesting.
Like that. But I see and I have friends that have many kids. I don't know in your case with your family, but I think there's a bit of a tendency today of people ordering at home, but not one order for the whole family. Every person orders what they want, right?
We have a dictatorship. I think at this point, my kids are still very young. I can still,
right?
I can still
demand.
make an executive decision on what is being. But yes, I can see that happening.
When I was a kid, like if I would not sit with my family to eat at night, like my mom would slap me, right?
Yeah.
If I were just, I want to be in my room and order food. Apart from the fact that it was not possible because there was no service doing that, but my parents would never accept that.
No, but I can see it happening. Somebody wants people want to eat different things. How do you do that? I mean, if you have multiple orders in the same location, you send them with one person or you send 5 riders?
Depends. There's a very complicated algorithm that takes care of the dispatch and logistics, which I have no clue how it works, but it works.
Okay.
No, I know how it works a bit. And sometimes there's this batching, which basically means that the rider will pick up food from 2 different locations and then come to you, or vice versa, go to different customers. But we tend to try to optimize as much as we can to minimize the number of riders that need to move around. Yeah.
I see that there's a platform I use now where when you order, they will give you a certain amount of time, like you have 10 minutes to basically order something else, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah,
because there's the environment as well that we need to think about, and I'm sure you as companies have 100%. To think about that. You have drivers going up and down the whole day.
100%. We do that. Actually, before I answer your question, I think fun fact we added after you place an order, similar to the company you mentioned, we added a carousel of grocery items, right? So maybe while you wait for your order, you need to order, toilet paper or something else.
Yeah.
It works quite well, actually. But what we figured is that people order food, and while they wait for food, they order snacks on groceries, right? So it's not for the purpose we thought, but nevertheless, people still use it, right?
Okay.
That's an interesting one. On the sustainability, I'm quite excited about EVs. I think it's much closer than we think. The potential to switch fleets to that. And we're doing several pilots on that. It needs a bit of infrastructure kind of in around the cities, but the technology is getting very close to be ready.
That's great.
For deliveries. Yeah. And we're doing also things like drones and the robots.
I saw the robots.
The robots in Silicon Oasis.
And also at Expo, you had the robots.
At Expo,
right?
we had the robots. The best thing at Expo was that we spent so much money to build this big kitchen and to showcase the future of food and whatever, which no one cared about. And everybody was playing with the robots around Expo. And the funniest thing are the videos, because the robots, see the street and whatever. And when you look at the videos that the robots record are hilarious, like kids playing with the robots, jumping on the robots, and talking to them. Like, it was so much fun.
Nice. So do you see that? I mean, is that in the near future, like drones and things like that? I saw on TV the other day, I think one of the technology programs, Click maybe or something, and they were showing trials for Amazon's delivery drones, for example.
Yeah.
Is that like reality or?
So I think robots is actually it works, right? So in Silicon Oasis today on Talabat, you can order from some specific restaurant and you get it delivered with robots.
How does the robot come to you? Like the restaurants are within a mall or a community?
Yeah, so it's inside a gated community.
Okay.
So inside that gated community, you can get the robots. The challenge with robots is really you need to have a clear mapping of the whole, terrain and whatever, right? So that's why we can do it in a closed community. Of course, it can scale, but it requires a bit of time for that. For drones, the technology is absolutely there. What we need is legislation, right?
Okay.
So kind of because the aerospace is always something that needs to be regulated and thought through, etc. But drones, we don't think it will be something that delivers at your doorstep. Or maybe it could if you have a villa. You could have a drone. You need a drone station, right, for the drone to land. And maybe we could have drone stations that are shared across, all the Amazons, the Talabats, etc., right? And you can get it. But I think it's a hub to spoke type of business.
Okay. So the drone lands somewhere.
So you have a rider that drops the food to a drone station, and the drone that goes to another drone station, and then you have another rider that picks it up there. And you'd be asking me, okay, why on earth do you do all of this if you then need two riders to still deliver the order? You can extend your range significantly, right? So now a restaurant that can deliver 10 kilometers, maybe tomorrow it will be able to deliver 20 kilometers or 30 kilometers. And that makes a big change because you can rent a location in a place where rental is cheap and still maybe deliver to Marina or to downtown, right? So I think that would be the big breakthrough that drones would bring.
What would be the payload of that drone? How much?
That's a question
You don't know.
But for food, I think it's pretty...
Because to do that, like what you're saying, to extend range or to be able to park the drone somewhere, I don't know, in a cause or something and then deliver... for it to make sense as well, you need to have a decent amount of payload, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the technology is so we're doing it. Also, that we're testing the drone.
Okay.
So it's technology-wise is okay. Like it just needs infrastructure and legislations.
It's like the Tesla chargers, right? I mean,
exactly.
you have them everywhere, and now all the EVs can plug into that. So it almost needs like a separate investment.
Exactly, both for EVs, for riders, for the fleet, and for drones. We need the charging stations and or battery swap stations and drone stations, right?
We were investing in a company in Iraq, which is a super app. And I was talking to someone in Iraq, an investor, and we were talking about like the investment amount and the valuations. And he told me, well, it's just an app. So it's amazing. I mean, I love this conversation because it just shows people how much work it takes to run this, little app that people see on their phones and think, oh, it must be so easy.
Exactly.
And you have this massive, super complex operation in the back end.
We have a tech hub of 500 engineers and product people. And I think this thing you said is funny because my mom was visiting the office yesterday. She came from Italy and she came visiting the office. And I told her this is where they build the app. I showed her the floor where the engineers are sitting. It's like, all these people?
Yeah.
I thought it was maximum 5-6 people.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah.
Yeah, I think people don't. I mean, I kind of got the experience when I was building my own company, and I realized like how much how much effort and resources it takes to build all these things. On the I mean, AI. Everyone's talking about AI. You have tons of data, so I'm assuming you're making a lot of investments there.
Yeah, we're looking at many things related to AI. The first one was this, assistant that I told you about.
Yes, that's pretty cool, actually. Yeah.
Yes. And then we use generative AI for things like images today. So say we have menus that have, 12 items, of which 10 have a picture and 2 don't have. We generate those 2 images that are missing based on the style of the other 10 for that restaurant. Because we know if a menu item has a picture, has a much higher conversion. We also generate description of dishes through AI. And we have many other secret under development applications of AI to our business. So something we're very excited about, something our engineering team is extremely excited about. They're kind of really spending a lot of time on it.
And do you look at it? I mean, because you mentioned that these companies like talabat require a lot of scales. You have thin margins, so AI, I would imagine, will play a big role as well in productivity, lowering costs and all of that.
Let's see. I think it's one of those things where everybody has the expectation is here, right?
Yeah.
and then we need to see where actually it lands. But hopefully, I think it may help a lot.
Okay. So just to talk a little bit about your leadership style, because I mean, you seem to be a very, very, very nice, very kind person. I met you this is the second time we meet. I mean, I don't know you that well, but from everything you said now, you seem to be very caring about the team and about the the growth and the personal development that people have within talabat. I usually don't do this with guests, by the way, but it's not. I'm not being paid for this. This is a genuine feeling I got. And you're not a founder, right? So you're like this is a CEO-led business. I interviewed one of the founders, Abdulaziz Loulou.
Yeah, fantastic.
In 2020, he was, I think, my 4th or 5th guest on Conversation with Loulou. So how do you? What is like your leadership style? How do you keep people engaged and motivated and have that kind of sense of purpose if you're not like the founder of the company?
That's a very good question, and I think at the end of the day, if you're the founder or you're not the founder, after many years, I think it matters a bit less. As I was telling you, talabat was founded in 2004. Abdulaziz is a fantastic guy. Like now he's a serial entrepreneur now.
Yeah, he's building another unicorn.
Exactly. But I was playing PlayStation back then in 2004, right?
Okay.
So I was very, very young, right? I think it's at the end of the day, what I like to think is, that sentence of the Little Prince that I really like. It says, if you want people to build a ship, you don't have to drum the roll and roll the drums and tell them, take that piece of wood and stick it together, whatever. Like you need to kind of teach them and show them how amazing it is to go in the sea and to, navigate in the waters of the sea, right? So it's kind of, I think it's all about that. And I like to have people around me that are very smart. Like I'm the team I have today, I think the team that reports to me is the strongest I've ever had in any company in my life. And I'm extremely blessed to have this team. But if you hire people that are like that, so smart, so capable, and then you're so prescriptive on what they have to do and how they have to do it, like they will leave after a short time, right? If you want smart people, you need to give them the freedom to, express themselves and, build their own their own path, right? So I'm very keen on that. I'm very keen in giving like good direction in terms of like very high level. Where do we want to go? How, like, what do we want to achieve as a company, and have everyone figure out what's the best way to get there, right? So we spend a lot of time on OKRs, which are extremely painful exercise for any company. But every company I worked before was like, we do OKRs, but then it's just an exercise. And after we do the OKRs, no one cares about them anymore, right? We spent 2 months to make 6 months OKRs, right? So, so 1/3 of the time to make the OKRs and 6 months to execute. And our process is so painful, so big, and so detailed, because then we want everyone to be clear on those 15, 20 priorities that we have, so that everybody works towards those priorities, right? So I think having clarity on where we're going and not changing direction every 2 months is important.
What is smart?
What is smart?
Yeah. What is your definition of smart? I mean, you said you like to work with smart people.
For me, a smart person is someone that will see problems and find solutions to problems. Most of the times in ways I would not think about. For me, smart comes also with diversity. I'm very happy that I have a very diverse team. All the people in my team think very differently than each other and than me. And only if you have a big diversity in the team, you can achieve greater results. I think if you hire people that are all like you, it will be super easy to align and to say, okay, we go from A to B, this is how we go from A to B. If you have a diverse team, it will be very hard at the beginning to say, okay, that's what we do. But then this team can go to C, that you will not be able to go to if the team was all the same.
Okay, so smart is someone, so you're not talking academically smart necessarily. You're talking, by smart, you mean somebody that can, I don't know, solve problems, as you said.
Yeah, so I think life is problems and business is problems. And it's just solving one problem after another, right? So either you have this hammer mindset where you see a nail, one after the other, you just nail down, or you don't, and you just, every time you have a problem, you're just desperate, right, about it, right? So you need to have people that have this hammer mindset. And there's one thing I always like to say that is, think about babies, right? You have 2 kids,
yes,
right?
2.
So what do babies do when they start walking? They're crawling, and then they try to stand up, right? And then they fall, right? Imagine if a baby would just try to stand up and then it falls and it's like, oh, I'll never be able to walk. And so they give up, right? So if that was the case, we will all be crawling right now. But we have this baby mindset in us that is, okay, I keep, trying to stand up, I fall, I stand up, I fall, I stand up, I fall. After 1,000 times that I do, 10,000 times that I do, now I start, walking, right? And that's the mindset you need when you run a business.
But
right?
that also requires management that is accepting of mistakes, allowing mistakes, allowing these small failures to happen.
Absolutely.
And I think as the company gets bigger, it becomes, in the corporate world, it becomes very difficult for you to make mistakes.
I totally agree with what you just said. And yesterday I had these so we had a product and tech leadership yesterday, and they asked me, what do you think we should do less? And I told them, I think you should test less. I think we got into a point where we're testing every single thing we do. If we change a copy in the app, we want to test the new copy to see if it works better than the previous copy. Well, at the end of the day, who cares, right? Because the incremental value of that is probably very, very, very small. And I told them, I cannot recall one single mistake that you guys did in 2023, which is bad. Because if you don't make mistake, you're not daring enough, right?
Or you're taking too long.
Or you're taking too long.
To go to market.
Exactly. So I think you're right. And that's something we want to break down.
Yeah. I mean, especially in your industry, it's super competitive. You have really big players going after the market. So I think, being on top of your game
100%.
as being important. So yeah, speed. I mean, but there is that balance, right? You go super fast, or is it great quality? And you are an established brand today. You're not a startup. You're not allowed to make big mistakes.
We think we're still.
You still think you're a startup?
I think we're still a startup.
Okay.
We did this thing of the lion and the gazelle. Do you know the story?
No.
So, I mean, they always teach this story in Italy. I don't know why here, like, no one knows this story, but basically it says every morning in Africa, a gazelle wakes up and she knows that she has to run.
Yeah.
Otherwise, a lion would, catch her and eat her, right?
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, a lion wakes up and knows that she will have to run to eat a gazelle, otherwise she will die of starvation, right? And the morale is that no matter whether you're a lion or a gazelle, you better run,
Yeah.
right? But in business, I think is the only place where it's much better to be a gazelle than a lion, because when you're the gazelle, you run straight and the lion runs straight. You run left and the lion comes left. You jump in a bush, lion jumps in a bush, and so on and so forth, right? And the gazelle is the one company that sets the path, right? And the lions are the followers, right? When is the moment where the gazelle gets caught by the lion? When is it?
When is the moment the gazelle got caught by a lion? When the gazelle is looking back.
Exactly.
Yes.
So when the gazelle looks at the road in front,
Yeah.
is run faster than the lion. But if the gazelle starts looking back where the lion is, right, it will get caught. So it's important to focus on the road. It's important to focus on the customers and on what we want to build, and not what the lion is doing.
Yeah, I love that. I had a guest actually on the podcast, Tara Rogers, and she owns a PR company, and she spoke about that a lot. Where, you have a lot of founders, startup founders. They're too busy, too worried about what the competition is doing, that they're not really, focusing on their own path. And then when you're trying to run and you're looking backwards, yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's a great analogy. It's a great example.
So we have this gazelle analogy all over Talabat.
Okay.
We have meeting rooms called Gazelle and stuff like that. So
okay.
It's
Yeah, but the gazelle, I mean, being first as well sometimes has its own challenges too, right? I mean, you are learning, and others could learn at your own expense. For example, you're making
100%.
the mistakes.
But whenever I see a competitor copying 100% one feature that we have or one product that we have,
yeah,
I'm happy because I'm just saying they don't know better, right? They give for granted that whatever we do is good. Mm-hmm. So clearly their strategy is just to copy whatever we're doing, which is good for me, right? Because it means that I'm doing something good.
Yeah. Yeah, build something bad
Exactly.
and market it.
Exactly.
And see what people do. Just last question, I wanted to ask you about M&A, because I mean you started your career in investing right before you went into food delivery, and Delivery Hero is a very big company. I checked yesterday; the market cap is $8 billion. So you have deep pockets. So how do you look at M&A? Could Talabat was acquired by Delivery Hero, and so did 6 or 7 other companies in MENA and Turkey. How do you look at M&A as Talabat?
So
because you're quite big now.
Yeah, we look at opportunities based on the synergies, as everyone, I guess, right?
Yeah.
The synergies that we could get out of that. And M&A makes sense when 1 + 1 = 3, right? Otherwise, if you just want to keep the company as it is, and you cannot create value for that company for yourself, I mean, it doesn't make sense, right? So whenever we acquired a company in the region, it was because we thought that with the expertise that we have, or with some resources, or by combining operations and whatever, we could generate more value. I give you an example. Delivery Hero acquired companies across the world. There were food delivery companies that were doing marketplace business. Marketplace business means that you just connect customer and restaurants, and then the restaurants do the delivery. Mm-hmm. And Talabat was like that when Delivery Hero acquired it. But they knew that if you transform that into building your own fleet, create your own delivery service, the potential is 10x. So I think Delivery Hero found themselves in a situation where there were a lot of these opportunities around the globe that had a huge potential, and Delivery Hero has the knowledge on how to extract that potential from these raw diamonds, right? So you have this skill set and the expertise, and that made a lot of sense for them. So I think we have still opportunities like that, and now we're thinking more about ecosystem, and it's more, what can we do beyond food delivery? And the first step was grocery delivery, right? And was Talabat Mart and quick commerce, which is a service that is doing fantastic. Customers love it. Customers love the convenience of having your groceries delivered 24/7. So this is one space, but also, fintech is an interesting thing for us. We launched a product called Buy Now, Pay Later that was inside of T-Lab, was an idea coming out of T-Lab. And it would say, okay, why do people would use Buy Now, Pay Later to order food? It's like a small ticket item. But at the end of the day, we see that, before pay week, there's always a dip in orders of food, right?
Okay.
Well, with Buy Now, Pay Later, we see the curve becoming kind of normalized, right? So that works very well.
So do you provide that yourself or through other companies?
We provide it ourselves.
Okay.
Provide ourselves. We're looking into how can we expand that product. It's very promising. And, there could be potential M&A or opportunities also in that space, right? If we think that we can, build something together. Yeah.
And the target would need to be a certain size, or how do you look at that? I mean, is there there's a thing here in the MENA region? They say, like, if you're a company that's worth over, let's say, $200 million, you become very difficult to get acquired. I mean, Kareem was, an outlier in a way.
Well, most of the acquisitions of Delivery Hero were above that ticket size in the region. True. Also. So I don't think that's a blocker. Also because, acquisition could be a cash acquisition, or could also be kind of you swap shares and things like that. So there are many ways to do the acquisition that don't require a big disbursement of cash, right? So I would say there's no size that. So the Korea business that Delivery Hero bought a business in Korea that it was was as big as Delivery Hero total, right?
Okay.
And that was a shared transaction, right? So I think if it makes sense, if the founders are aligned, if the mindsets are aligned, if the direction is aligned, I don't think the size of the company limits any potential activity.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you so much for all the insights and for sharing so openly. Super fun. I really enjoyed this. We'll do it again next year, maybe.
Absolutely. Whenever you want. Thank you, Loulou. Thank you so much.
Good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Conversations with Loulou with Tomaso Rodriguez. I hope you enjoyed it. As usual, go to conversationswithloulou.com to check out all the other episodes. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to or watch the show. It would really help us in getting the show discovered. Leave us a rating and a review if you can. And don't forget to share it with family, friends, and whoever would benefit from this content. Shout out to Zubair Parasha for his support on research on this episode. And also, don't forget to check out the podcast listener survey. I have left a link to that in the show notes. It takes 7 minutes and it would really help me to get to know you better. Thank you and see you in a few weeks.